you.
Yeah, I can do whatever.
There's
you
nothing
need
in
to do.
there.
Okay, completely fine.
You know the history of the house or no?
Do I?
Does anybody know
Some.
the history of the house?
I have some.
Well, you like not people got this.
Ladies and handicapped.
So, I'm not really getting much of anything other than some man. Where's the stairs? Jesus, Mary, Joseph. That's where we're gonna go first off, right? Okay. If there's a light down there. Can I use, is there a light down here?
Where's?
I have,
We couldn't find one, but I have one. Here,
you got it?
you wanna take it?
Okay. Like, are the homeowners actually experiencing stuff here, or are they trying to resell it? What is
These are
actually going,
renters.
like, what is going on with the house? Because there's a gentleman who's here that is all sorts of not mentally correct. Oh Lord.
Blue.
There's literally, I can't get any straight answers out of this human being, so there's not going to be anything that I can channel. There's an old woman that's in the house. Neither one of them want to talk to me at all. This lady's probably about my height. She's bigger. She's wearing a nightgown that's got flowers on it. It's pink and blue, and it's like one of the old school, like muumuu type nightgowns. Neither one of them want to talk to me. This man, though. Spiders. Why do they take me to spiders? Okay, so there's two people in the house. There's one's an old lady. She's wearing like a nightgown, one of the old school muumuu type nightgowns. That it's got blue and pink flowers on it. She's about my height, but she's bigger. She does not. Neither her or the old man want to talk to me at all. Like, neither one of them want to talk to me. I'm gonna say that it's probably for religious reasons based on the vibe I'm getting from him. But he is 100% making me feel like he doesn't want to chat with me, not one iota. I almost want to say that he's probably a little bit on the testy side because he's really making me feel like he is probably a very old school, grumpy old man. There's also somebody else here that I'm not exactly sure. I don't feel like it took place in this house. They keep pulling me upstairs. There's like a room upstairs, but I feel like he really doesn't like anybody in that room. But at the same time, there's another gentleman that's in here that I almost want to say this happened outside of this house, not in this house, because he's taking me and it's self-harm, it's suicide. So I'm gonna tell you, the old man don't know where to go. He's actually kind of funny. He's like so stubborn, he's funny. Because he's making me feel like he tries to hang out in that room, but when people are here, I feel like they actually hung out in that room more. So he's almost making me feel like he had to hop between rooms to get away from people. He doesn't like to be in the basement because nothing's there. He's also making me feel like he'd like to be in the garage, which he makes me feel like he actually moves a lot of crap in the garage when stuff is in there. Thank you. He's also giving to me, I'm going to say he had congestive heart failure prior to his passing based on what he's giving to me, because he's making me feel like my chest is completely compacted with liquid around my lungs, and it is heart related because he's giving me ups and downs with his heart, and that means that it's not beating properly. But he's really confused. It's the weirdest thing, because usually when they do this, it's almost like dementia or Alzheimer's, but he's not making me feel like he had that prior to his passing. He's making me feel like he had other health issues or illnesses, but he is giving to me like this mental confusion that takes place in this house. It is the weirdest thing. So I don't know if the people who are in this house when you guys are here, it's almost like a fun house effect that takes place. I feel like things just make me really dizzy. So who are the people? Do you guys ever have that in here? It's like upstairs, you get up here and it's like everything's weird and dizzy. And it's I don't like the feeling in this house. I don't necessarily, I'm not saying it's like demons or anything, please don't hear me wrong. But I'm just saying it just feels almost like we want to just like get out is how it feels to me. And it's not a safe feeling at all. But I don't necessarily know that it's this house because they keep taking me outside of the house, which usually means to me that there's something going on in like a house surrounding this and or with people in the town as a whole. So I'm also gonna, like, how much do you want to know?
Everything, yeah.
Okay, I'm just making sure first, because I'm about to get real with you. They are making me feel like there's been crap done, and I do want to say in this house, they're almost making me feel like people have done some witchcraft shit in this town and have called on bad things in this town. And I do think that it actually worked, because they're making me feel like this town has a roller coaster ride. It's almost like for 5 years, they'll have all these bad things happen, boom, 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 and then it'll be quiet for a couple years. And then all of a sudden it's like right back downhill and all these things. It's because things get stirred up and things are stirring the pot again. And so I just want to say that I feel like this house itself probably, I don't know if it actually sat vacant for a period of time, but they're making me feel like it was dormant for a period of time. And so this would have been a space that would have been a good place for bad things to come and kind of collect, because it was vacant. There was nothing messing with it here. And so people come out and try to push things out, and they don't like that. Bad things don't like it when we try to take our power back and try to put good things back into locations. And I feel almost that that's what you're dealing with, because the old man that I'm dealing with, he's so apprehensive to have a conversation with me, and it's based off from religious reasons. He is making me feel like what I do is completely the devil, and he is probably not the nicest character. I'm just going to tell you, I almost want to say that I feel like he would be screaming at me right now if I allowed him to scream at me. And it's not necessarily because he's a bad human, it's just because he's sick of bad shit happening. Excuse my French, sorry sir. He would not have said that, by the way. But at the same time, it's just this house is like a stagnant melting pot for this really off energy, because it's almost like I feel like I'm going to be pushed down the stairs if I stand up on the stairs. I feel like if I'm in that room, I'm going to vomit. I feel like if I go to any other room, it's like this weird wavy thing. And I also feel like I have this thing on top of my head, so it's like there's never mental clarity. Everything feels crazy and chaotic. There is a gentleman here that claimed to have hung himself, but it was not in this house. I almost want to say that it was in a tree offset of the property. He's making me feel like it actually happened outside because he didn't want his family members to find him in his house. And so he's taking rope and he's hanging it from a tree, which does mean to me that that's how he decided to take his life. There's a lot of crap that's happened around here per se, because they're also making me feel like there's like a lot of like mental illness, drug addiction, like all these things, which is really stupid because this is actually a pretty good town. It like is a quiet town. It should be a quiet town. I don't know what the hell took place in the 80s, but they're making me feel like 80s, early 90s. There was a whole lot of like dilapidation that took place, and the wrong crowds kind of came in and started stirring the pot in the wrong way. And unfortunately, this house is kind of in the middle, and it just is what it is at this point. On top of that, I do want to say, like, I don't know how long you guys have owned this and if you're trying to flip it and get out of it, because they're almost making me feel like there's a flipping process that took place, okay? So I don't know if you guys came in and flipped it before or if it was flipped before you, but what they're doing is they're flipping the property, which means to me that things weren't necessarily cleaned the way that they should have been cleaned, and they weren't taken care of the way that they should have been taken care of. And so there's also a whole lot of other stuff that will come up because of what they may have missed in the flipping process that you guys are also having to deal with. But this isn't a safe place for families. They're just making me feel like this is not a good place for families to be because of the negativity that's kind of stuck in the house. It's not necessarily people per se, but you're also talking about something that's almost like, I almost want to say like, I do, but I don't. Please just take this with a grain of salt, because I almost want to say that somebody lived here prior to that manifested like a PK type of haunting. It's almost like somebody was here that themselves were gifted, but also had mental illness on top of that. And so it's almost like they themselves kind of created this like PK manifestation type of thing. And I feel like that's still here because they're making me feel like we actually see dark figured creatures is how they're calling them. They're calling them creatures to me. And I actually am hearing like growling taking place. And I don't know if that's actual like spirits, or if it's the thing, because I almost feel like it's the manifestation, but at the same time, if you guys yourselves, yuck. Hold on. My dear Lord. Okay. It's the hardest thing to see through the bull crap that they're showing me. They're showing me so much weird crap. Okay, so here's the thing. Like, my eyes are closed. I know this is an old house. I know it probably slants. But if you stand where I'm standing, it quite literally feels like I'm standing in the middle of a fucking vortex. Excuse my French. Like, this is the craziest, weirdest experience I've had in a long time. I feel like I'm standing in an open, weird space. It's making me physically ill. There's also a little girl in this house that's not a little girl. She's not nice at all. She really likes to play games, but not in a nice way. She's like really trying to scratch and pull people. She's not nice. This is not a child at all. You guys like get the award for the weirdest house I've been in a long time.
And I don't know if I can make comments as to what you're saying, but my son, who's 5 and 6, sees things. He calls her the zombie baby.
Oh God.
That's what he said.
I am so sorry for him. She really is creepy. She is not a child.
That's what he told me. He
She is not a child.
She was tormenting. He's like,
literally don't think that this is a safe place for children. I don't say, like, a lot of times I can come in and I can do a cleansing and I can do things, but I'm going to tell you there is no saving this location right now for people. This is just not a good place for people because it's had too much happen. And it's not this house. This is the stupidest thing. It's not the house. I almost want to say that people came in and put things into this house, but also I think that people stayed in this house. I feel like people who aren't supposed to be in this house, like grifters or like people who, like vagrants, something like that, kind of came and stayed in this house. And I am going to tell you, I think bad things happened in this house. That I don't necessarily feel, I feel like they got swept under the rug because they're really making me feel like there were things that happened here that were not necessarily caught by the police because people don't always, we get away with a lot of things sometimes. And I do feel like there's layers and layers and layers of the things that took place in this property. I also am going to say that I do feel like somebody had a drug overdose here and or in one of the places around here because there's a female that's coming in for me and she's giving me a needle in my arm, and that usually means to me, obviously, passive drug overdose. But it's not just this house. It's almost like you're sandwiched in between this weird space, and this one itself is like pulling things in and bringing it out. And this girl is not a girl. We're talking about a negative spirit. I mean, I usually say spirit, like energies and entities, and this is an entity. This has never walked on earth at all as a human being. This is not a child. The reason why it would appear to be a child is to try to look the part, but she can't even look the part. Like, she's not even looking the part to me. So she's not working. It's just not what it is. Her eyes glisten, and I don't like it when people's eyes glisten because that doesn't mean good things for me. Also, they're making me feel like you guys see things in the windows and in the mirrors. They're really making me feel like sometimes like we will walk like and we see things like looking back at us. And you guys are just getting lots and lots of layers of things, and I'm really sorry about that because like I want people to save their houses. I don't generally am like if you're dealing with a 5-year-old child that's like dealing with this thing, there's no saving this house at this point.
Well, like my son too, still he went head forward down the stairs. When you said being pushed on the stairs, he was actually had that happen too.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
everything you're describing is what he describes to me.
Okay.
So
And
he
he's 5?
sees it. He's gonna be 6 tomorrow.
Okay.
He sees everything
he does.
everything you're saying.
He also may contribute to the PK stuff that I'm experiencing because first off, if he's seeing stuff, he's so little, most little kids always see spirit. That's a thing that kids see. But the fact that he's seeing the negative that he's seeing and not the positive, this house isn't allowing positive in. You guys have your own people. You guys have, and that's why it's weird because those old people that are here, I feel like are trying to keep some safety in the environment by being so steadfast. And so when I say that these are people who don't like me at all, and based on their biblical understanding, I don't take offense to that at all. First off, people can feel the way they feel, but at the same time, I really think that they want to keep peace in this house, and based off from what their knowledge of religion is, this isn't safe to them, and they don't want another unsafe person to come into their location and put more negative in. And so he's really pushing back on me, but at the same time, he's not really doing that now because I think he sees that I'm not necessarily here to cause harm, but at the same time, I almost want to say that these are 2 old, beautiful people that are just trying to keep some semblance of like safety in this location. I do think they would have lived here at one point in time. I almost want to say they probably were original owners or something along those lines because they're really making me feel like they loved this house, but this house isn't the same anymore. And unfortunately, you have a child who's very, very heightened to what's going on, and his fear himself can actually cause more because he doesn't really have a way of channeling what he's experiencing. And so you just have like this perfect storm of crazy and chaotic that's taking place. And it's not often that I say this. You can tell like anybody, you can ask anybody I deal with. It is not often that I tell you there's demonic activity in this house. 100% demonic activity. I don't ever say that, ever, because usually things can be saved. That's not this. This house, especially up here in this space and in that space, 2 really bad spaces. It's almost like, and I don't know, did he sleep in this room or did he sleep in the very back room? Because they're taking me to the very back room and they're making me feel like something very tall keeps crawling out of his closet. And it's the weirdest thing. It's like on stilts is how they're showing it to me.
That's how he described it, but he would sleep downstairs, but it would be downstairs. It would follow him.
Okay, so yeah, it's not okay. It's not okay, the whole house. I'm
He's
sorry
never
to
coming
tell you
back.
that.
Oh no, we rented. We are not coming back. Like we
Okay.
moved out, and I knew it was like not safe.
And my chest like really hurts right now. Like
That's
it's just
That's, first off, I'm making you anxious, and I apologize
no,
for that.
it's not that.
It's like, my energy tends to freak people out, first off. But also the gentleman that's here, that old man that was here, I 100% believe he had congestive heart failure. And so you're an empath, your child's an empath. I think your husband, spouse, whoever it is that you're with is an empath, but they're doing this to me, which means he's very skeptical and doesn't want to believe in any of this stuff.
Absolutely.
Like,
Yes, exactly.
let's just whatever, blow it off, only because I feel like it scares him and he doesn't know what to do with it, okay? He's a very good guy. But at the same time, it's like you're living in this house full of people that these things can manipulate. And that's not okay, because that's exactly what they want to do. They want to feed off from that fear that they can create in you guys. And when you're dealing with a 5-6-year-old, first off, I got to commend that little dude, because I feel like he is just like, get out of my space. I really think he holds his own as much as he possibly can.
Yes.
But it picks and picks and picks and picks and picks until you don't have any more left to have. And so with that, it's just like, it can't be. He can't be back in this space. When it comes to you, hon, you're a great human being. By the way, they're doing this. This is your guides. They're giving 2 thumbs up with you. But I feel like you're just exhausted. They're making me feel like you're exhausted because you know what you feel, but you don't want to talk about what you feel. You don't want to talk about what you experience because there's all these different layers to everything that's going on, and you think you're crazy. They're literally making me feel like you think you're crazy by seeing stuff and the shadows and the this and the this and the hearing the noises. There's constant talking taking place up here all the time. Also downstairs, like they're making me feel like you can be downstairs and hear people walking upstairs. You can hear like weird, and I gotta tell you, it's the weirdest growl sound. I don't ever hear sounds like that, but it's this low guttural sound that I keep hearing coming from up here, but it's almost like it's echoing off from all of the walls and ping-ponging, so we can't ever figure out where the actual location is. And so it's just insanity at this point. Also, they are doing this to me, which also means to me that doors will open, they will shut, they will do the things that they're doing. And it's almost like the weirdest, because as I'm doing this, the door isn't creaking, but they're showing me, like they're making me hear creaking. They're also giving me cigarette smoke. I do want you to know that when you smell the cigarette smoke, I think that's actually the old man with congestive heart failure. He's not scary, he's just really tough. He's very old school. Good guy, just tough. And I just feel like there's tons of layers to what's taking place in here, and I feel physically sick. Like, I actually feel sick. And that means to me that you guys have probably also had experienced like physical illness since coming into this location, and also like weird aches, pains, like illnesses that don't generally happen, cloudiness in my head, my ears are plugged. They've been like that all day, now I know why. And so there's all this weird stuff that's taking place, and I just don't feel like this is a safe spot for children. I think that you guys are making the right choice by getting out of this house. I don't say that often, I'm sorry. That's insane. Oh. Okay. I feel like I'm done. Like, I don't feel like there's anything else, because you guys are done with the space. It's probably just best for me to let it be and not give these things the energy that they want. But at the same time, it's not just this house. I can't tell you enough how it's not just this house. There are people that are feeling this all over the place. The problem is that they don't understand how spirit gets to us, because they're really making me feel like the spirit that's here is also everywhere else, and it causes people to like turn on each other. So the best couples will experience complete headbutting and just these stupid fights out of absolutely nowhere, because they don't understand how these things are putting their claws essentially into them and following them through. And so yeah, these things are just not, you've got several different things that are being experienced right now, and it's on a lot of different layers, but it's not just this home. I feel like there's a lot taking place all over in the same block and a half. So random, weird, stupid stuff, and it's weird because it's almost like there's no rhyme or reason for where it came from. It's almost like it happened outside of the house and was brought into the house. They're not making me feel like it happened in the house. I just feel like there was a time and space where this part of this town just was in a really bad place, and there were wrong people living in this space, and it's almost like they brought this crap in. And that's just the way it goes sometimes. Sometimes people do stupid things that they don't understand what they're doing, and when they do those stupid things and sit out in cemeteries and call on crap that they shouldn't be talking to, this is exactly what happens, because people don't understand that even if you're using something like a Ouija board or something like that, people say it's based off from intention. Yes, it is, but you also have to understand the spirit that you're talking about also has intention. And so if you are not guarded correctly, if you are not protected correctly, this is what takes place. And I just feel like this is the perfect storm for everything. And your guys' house is literally, this space is something that has accumulated like this because you guys are actually beautiful people. And it's almost like it really doesn't like that. And so before you guys move to your next space, I don't know if you've already moved out of this space completely. If you have, make sure that you sage your space. Please make sure that you do a proper cleansing on your actual home that you have now. And also make sure that you push everything out that may have followed you, and make sure nothing's allowed to follow you again. Because these things, it's almost like your son is just such a bright light, and I don't want anything following him at all. And they could. So we need to make sure that they stay here where they need to be, and they don't continue to follow you guys in and out of the space. That's not where we want them to be. So I can give you some, I call it like spiritual voodoo. It's not voodoo, but I call it spiritual voodoo. Ask Angela. I give like ingredients for stuff for kids to use if they start to feel stuff, because I think he's just a gifted kid. I think he's a healer. I think he's somebody who's just very open, but doesn't really know how to utilize his openness. And so as he gets older, he's probably going to shut down a little bit more, because he's very intelligent, very knowledgeable in his brain sense. But at the same time, as he gets older, he's probably going to shut down that heart a little bit more and not want to feel the feels. But right now, he doesn't have a choice. Right now, it's just constantly bombarding him, and he is exhausted. Also, it's the weirdest thing, because like I've only seen this once. Do you know if he's seen any more? Have you guys also possibly seen any more? Like, has anybody seen like a weird looking little boy or a little girl that's opposite of what he said he saw?
He says that there's a lot of children. Is
There's
what
a
he
lot.
said. He told me about the zombie baby.
Uh-huh.
He told me about a mean boy.
There's
Okay.
like a baby in his house.
So like, I'm actually seeing black-eyed children.
Oh gosh.
So I'm seeing things that are considered entities that come in and out of vortexes, and in that room specifically. Like, I'm curious what the sweep is going to be. I'm curious what that's going to look like, because it's like it's a magnetic pull that's taking place in that space that's bringing everything in at this point, and it's just not a safe place.
And like you said, you used the word vortex, and that's exactly what she had seen a black wall, but she's like, I don't know what vortex feel is what she keeps getting in. Like you said, layers just of confusion, mass confusion. Like,
it's because they don't want you to feel safe in your space. If you're confused and don't know what's going on, they have the upper hand. And so what they do is they try to cause those layers of confusion in people that can't get through those layers. And so when I walked into that room, that's literally what took place. They like bombarded me with all this stuff, and it's like, what's going on? And that's why you have to slow down a second and be like, okay, but it's not just me, it's my people on the other side. Like, okay, let's dive through this so you can see what's taking place. Because if I see what's taking place, then that means you guys get to go away. They don't want you to go away. They want you to keep feeding what it is that they need, because they sat here unfed for quite a while, and they need that energy. They like that energy. And so, yeah, you've got a crapshoot of things coming in, and it's the weirdest thing, because it's like you have things coming from outside too. Like, I'm hearing knocks on the door. I'm hearing people talking outside of my house, and it's like we're going to find out who's outside. There's nobody outside. This is all 100% like spirit related, and it's the weirdest thing, because I don't generally see that. I'm a big advocate for spirit in a positive way. There's nothing redeeming about this house anymore, other than those two beautiful old people that are really, really, really religious in this house, that's trying to keep some normalcy in here when it comes to the feelings, and they're really attempting to try to protect you. That's essentially what they're doing. It's too much for them to do, and that's why they're bitter. That's why they've got that no. That's all that is. They can't keep anybody protected anymore, and so they're just like, we're done.
yeah.
So they don't even mean to be as negative as what they are, but if you're picking up on that, it's just crazy, and I feel so sick. Like, I feel so sick. I am so sorry that you guys, so sorry that you guys got into this space because I bet they were really good at pretending it wasn't like this at first. I bet it was about a month in and then it started going downhill and then everything started getting weird.
Yeah.
They did a great job.
Yeah.
I gotta give them credit where credit's due, and they did a great job of bamboozling you guys.
Yeah.
I'm done. There's nothing